stay. I don't mind. No, go. Is this thing on? You can hear me? Right? All those can you hear me now jokes. Because, my friends, we live in the mediated age. The age is filled with this media. I think even Yom Kippur, Kol Nidre, is mediated. It's not just about our everyday of being pushed news, plugged our products, and proffered app after app after app. There's an app for that. We know these things. It's hard to know who we are without all our accessories. When I was, 11, 12, I just remember the video game. I was playing Pong. Anybody remember Pong? So my friend had Pong. I didn't have Pong. So I was really excited. But I remember going down to the basement where the kids would play, and I saw my friend's mom. She had her own personal gym. This was the early 80s. I didn't know these things existed at the time. I was really, really wowed. Because I saw her in her doing her gym thing, like personal, these little rooms, TV, the whole thing. So she had an Adidas tracksuit on. Just come back with me, right? The satin. Okay? Do you remember the satin hat? The pink satin hat. She would have been great at flippers. She had big sunglasses. And I had never seen it before, but she had a Sony Walkman on. So it was the first time I'd ever seen one of these, earphone things. And she was on a Stairmaster. Like literally floating on air. And, I was always polite. Hello, Mrs. Silverstein. Nothing. I was shocked. I was wondering, is she training to be an astronaut? It was really new. It was really new stuff. Because she was floating in this elliptical world. And there were so many courses. Because they also had this thing, do you remember this? There was a chain in case you fell off the Stairmaster. So she had 6 different chords. And totally just so smooth. But I also was she is out of this world. Come on, let's go play Pong. And then I just, we went back to our video game. And that was, the 80s. And so, I could say that we're now living in the mediated age, but I think we were living in it then too. And I'm sure, back in cuneiform, they're can you believe this tablet? Every age. All right. So Herbert Marcuse, from jokes to philosophy, Herbert Marcuse, saw this already in the 1960s. I want you to hear this quote. He said, "The need for possessing, consuming, handling, constantly renewing the gadgets, devices, instruments, engines offered to and imposed upon the people, for using these wares even at the danger of one's own destruction, has now become a, quote, biological need." Resonate? I mean, look, al chet shachatati lefanecha b'iPhone uba earbuds. So let's try to separate for a moment from this need tonight. This is why we wear white. It's why we're unadorned. We're trying to elevate ourselves from being possessed by possession. You're literally not supposed to wear a garment with pockets so that you can say, I can't take it with me. Here I am, I'm already turning it on and off. There are no pockets. In fact, there's a debate whether if your teeth and your breath smell, whether you should use air freshener. And so some do, some don't. But tonight my teeth does not have paste, so that I can't even mask my living, breathing self. And in fact, your breath imparts, forgive me for being a doctor here, but halitosis it's a slightly dying effect. Your breath is saying, I'm not so fresh all the time. And so we are living and dying in this moment. And so here's the message. We are perfect as imperfect vessels. as long as we all do this together. Without any enhancements or applications, as unmediated souls, we can become more connected in one moment than a forever of text, emoji, question mark, exclamation mark, question mark. I honestly, I find it hieroglyphic, like Egyptian hieroglyphic, and we didn't love that back then either. So kapara, what we're really looking for in this one moment, any moment that we can do this collectively, is to find our inherent value adjusted after all of our inflation, after our cover-ups, and so much of our over-armor of invincibility as we face this world. So it should be a shock to you. I keep kosher. I don't eat shellfish. But not just because it's not kosher, because I find that the exoskeleton is an anathema to who I am as a Jew and a human being. I know it's a little cheesy, but this is why I don't eat shellfish, because I find the exoskeleton to be fake. That we are flesh and bone, that we're marred by our experience, and we're worn by sun and by time. And so the exoskeleton for me, I just remember Alice's restaurant and watching, all that cracking of this pretty shiny orange. Not that shiny orange, but sorry, forgive me. We must wear our flesh on the outside, and we don't have to guard in this space on Yom Kippur our fragile selves. So we don't eat, drink, bathe, or have sex this evening and tomorrow because we are purging ourselves. I just want to get that right off. That's not our stuff. If we thought that we were doing like a juice fast for one day to get out all the sweats of our things, these things aren't bad to us. We're not Scientologists. There's no like demons inside us. So there was one time in the 15th century, one rabbi. Don't agree with him. We are not punishing ourselves. Even though Leviticus says clearly, initem et nafshotechem. For those that speak Hebrew, it says, you should afflict your souls. And for those a little later this evening and tomorrow, you know who you are. You're really you're trying to crack a rib. Like you're really trying to afflict yourself. This is not our ritual. Anitem, if you just change one vowel, instead of afflicting your souls, you're asking to answer your souls. So by stopping all of the applications of our lives, and I do include food and drink and sex, intimacy, and bathing, and all the powders that we can put on, we're asking our souls to answer ourselves. Not to get our toxins away, but to actually hear what our soul is saying to us. And so someone said this, fast is the wrong word. Cessation is better. Taking a pause to live in your being without consumption. And so we ask our bodies to answer us in absence of these substances. And I will admit my body aches a bit. I definitely thirst. But I'm also unmasked. Kapara, in this way, is in fact not about balancing or payment. Do you know the first time kapara is actually used? I think you'll like this story. The Noah story. Do you remember you're supposed to build me a ark? And what's he supposed to do with it? Patch it with pitch. Kafer oto. Kofer is pitch. It's actually like caulking. It's like that paste, that putty. So if you can imagine, what you're doing in this time is not suffering, but simply allowing all of the applications and substances of your body for a moment to see who you are, all your cracks, all the things that we fill over and try to make up from foundation up to lip gloss, to feel who you are in this moment. And then kapara, kofer, is God allowing the caulking of your vessel to then refill itself in the course of a year. Much more gentle, I think, than this initem et nafshotechem. And also a true call for us to do absolutely nothing. That's what we have to do tonight and tomorrow. Not do. Which is probably the hardest thing. If anybody's tried to do a 25-hour Shabbat with really religious friends in Jerusalem, starting, about hour 17, that's not so easy just to be. And Yom Kippur is a type of Shabbat. It's the Sabbath of Sabbaths. And so it takes great risk to do nothing. And so this message is to be aware of these empty vessels in a day of unencumbered inaction. No gadgets, no elixirs, no supports. I believe if we experience that unmediated moment as a group, as a collective, no matter where we are, not just Sanctuary or Fox Theater, but as a collective, as a society, if we really allowed ourselves to see how broken we are, each and every one of us, as a collective, we'd find a lot better complements to one another in community than all of the applications and additives that we've tried to create in order to feel whole as individuals. It's an inverse proportion. I'm not saying these things are sin. These things are vital. They're technology. And yet, if for one day we could release ourselves from these things, see where we are broken as individuals and as a collective, it's a spiritual conversation. We would be a lot more whole, and I think we would use a lot less. So, this is in contrast to another holiday about 6 months from now, just to do a little compare-contrast. Everybody loves Purim, right? Purim. Oh, my son, he's already got his Purim costume. He's got a challah with a webbed mask, and it's going to be Halloween. I thought that was good. It was Theo. It's very good. So, Yom Kippur, they actually compare Yom Kippurim. That this is a very similar and yet opposite day. But just think about it. So on Purim we need to wear masks, masechot, we cover our identities. Here we must remove our masks. On Purim, what are we supposed to do? Come on in. Weather's warm. It's perfect. Don't worry. We drink. We drink ad shelo yada. I'm going to address drinking tomorrow a bit, so I'm going to save on that. We drink. Here, we abstain from drinking. But think about the story itself about Purim and Esther and Mordechai. It's always externally focused. It's always sending out letters to all the different places and all the different people. We're worried about kings and accommodation and how we can manipulate. Esther hides herself. Yom Kippurim. This Yom Kippur is about opening ourselves, being a little more vulnerable, and not worrying about what other people think about Klal Yisrael. This is not Rosh Hashanah where I'm trying to evaluate myself vis-a-vis the world. I'm trying to evaluate myself vis-a-vis myself. And this is the Jewish people. This is our genius, is that our Torah and our words actually can speak for us. Look, I didn't memorize Kol Nidre until I was in rabbinical school, but every time I sing it, my heart opens up. I can't tell you it's because of the language. It's because of my generations, my authenticity of being here before you. So, I want to turn media on its head for a moment, who said that Marshall McLuhan, the media is the message. So I was reading about him, and he said that the book, when it came out, they mistyped it, and it said the medium is the massage. I love that. And I really do think that if, in lieu of our media, we see ourselves as the medium, I think we need to give ourselves a massage, a spiritual relaxation, a moment for us to open up, and that becomes the message. Because, and this I hope you can believe, there is a light within each of us that we share. McLuhan also said, a light bulb can be the media, and the light is the message. But we believe that we have an interior light that throughout the year is refracted, enhanced, splintered, shared. It's also avatared, digitized, commodified. But I do not believe the light is extinguished, although it's smothered throughout the year. And so tonight, search for the light. in our hands and in our hearts, in these words. Be more gentle with yourself. Don't try to achieve Yom Kippur. Let your souls be the answer. I think this is really what sin and addressing sin can be without it being sin as original sin or sin as some God punishment. It's simply sin, chait, a diminution of our power. It's being inauthentic. That's missing the mark. You're not your truest self. And so, sin is the opposite of blessing, which would be to be your truest self for who you are, unmediated. And so, we can actually look at all of our sins that are the very responses to the thing we most need. Just think about it for a second. In your own vessel. Gossip, in reflection, is a soul that craves attention in a genuine way. Gluttony is a soul that is truly hunger for a comfort that is not from food. Theft, intellectual theft or otherwise, is a soul bereft of something that is an authentic product of one's own, etc., etc. So as we chant Al-Chait, for deeds, thought, and spoken, let ourselves become this media. And I just hope that for a moment, one day, we're not here as mommies, techies, hipsters, finance guys, industry people, even rabbis. Because our professed characters are truly not the message. We're Israel. We're unique and special and part of something much greater. And we're enough without any of these external things. And I'll admit, even in honestly, I'm trying to be as sincere as I possibly can before you. And I'm mediated. I'm totally using the rabbi voice. I have that. I so want you to like me. I do. So I have my humor. I have my glasses that make me feel smarter. I have my text and my philosophers. I have my amplification. We even have a streaming that makes me feel even more important. So Justin, can you turn that off for a second? For one